Maybe you want more movement, more lightness, more alignment between who you are and who you're meant to become. But for some reason, you're not moving, and you don't know why. You feel this invisible resistance, like trying to run in a dream. The desire is there, but the energy, frozen. What if I told you? This isn't laziness, it's not failure, it's friction from the invisible saboteurs inside you, tiny thought loops, old habits that once protected you, but now keep you small, like the mindset that keeps preparing, analyzing, questioning, but never implementing. Psychologists call it the deliberative state, where you think about action instead of taking it. It's comforting, right? You're working on it, but nothing really moves. Then there are the habits that look good on the surface. Waking up early, journaling, listening to spiritual podcasts. They once served you, but now they've become cozy rituals that avoid deeper risk. There's also the pull of familiarity. Even painful patterns can feel safe when they're known. You don't fear failure, you fear accountability. You fear meeting the unknown part of yourself that's been waiting to emerge. And underneath all of this, a silent pressure to be perfect before you begin. Online, everyone seems so polished, aligned, ready. You want to start, but feel paralyzed by comparison. So what happens? You stay still while your soul begs to move. But here's the truth. These saboteurs are not your enemies. They're signals. Old scripts trying to protect you in a life you've already outgrown. Recognizing them is the first breath of freedom, because once you see them, really see them, they lose their power. Sometimes you feel stuck, but can't name the reason. You've done the work, you've tried to heal, you've waited for clarity, and yet it feels like your life is paused, like you're sitting in a waiting room with no name on the door. What holds you back isn't always visible. Some wounds don't scream, they whisper. Like that quiet rejection years ago that made you question your worth, or that dream you buried because life told you it wasn't realistic. These are your invisible losses, the ones you didn't grieve because you were too busy surviving. When you lose purpose, even momentarily, your energy collapses inward. You start drifting. You feel busy, but disconnected. And deep down you wonder, is this all there is? Comparison makes it worse. You scroll, you see others thriving, and without noticing, you measure your timeline against theirs. But their journey is not yours. Their light doesn't diminish yours. Then there's the inner story that says, I know I can't do it, so why try? That's the inverted Galatea effect. When you're aware of your limitations but no longer believe you can rise above them. Here's the shift. You must map your silent losses, give name to what was taken, mourn what was never validated, because grief becomes fuel when it's seen. Clarity doesn't come from thinking harder, it comes from making peace with what's been lost and reclaiming what still lives in you. Let's keep going. There's something most spiritual seekers don't talk about. The moment when your quest for growth becomes your new prison. You read, you reflect, you know the language of healing, but nothing really shifts. Why? Because knowing is not becoming. Information without embodiment creates a spiritual traffic jam. You've consumed so much that your soul is saturated. You understand the chakras, the limiting beliefs, the nervous system, but you still don't speak your truth. You still don't take that leap. You still wait for the perfect moment. This is the knowledge-action gap, and it's heavy. We've been conditioned to believe that more input equals more transformation. But the opposite is true. Excess knowledge without practice dulls your intuition. It makes you overthink what should be felt. The truth is, action clarifies. What if instead of waiting for confidence, you started with curiosity? One small move, one message sent, one uncomfortable yes. Try a mini experiment, just one intentional disruption of your routine. That's how you shift from student to creator, because real wisdom is not what you've learned, it's what you live. Let's go deeper. Sometimes what feels like falling apart is actually falling into truth. There's a theory called positive disintegration, and it's powerful. It says that before we evolve, something inside us must break down. The roles, the beliefs, the borrowed identities, not because we're broken, but because the old self can't carry the new frequency. This isn't dysfunction, it's sacred disintegration. Think of the caterpillar. It doesn't improve itself into a butterfly, it dissolves into something unrecognizable, then reforms with wings. You may be in that space now, the in-between, the ache, the fog. Let me offer this. Maybe your pain isn't a problem to fix. Maybe it's a portal. Your anxiety, your restlessness, they might be invitations, signals that your soul is shifting dimensions. So don't rush to patch it up. Instead, sit with it. Place your hand on your heart and ask, what part of me is trying to emerge through this discomfort? This is where transformation lives, not in escape, but in embrace. Keep going. You're doing sacred work. You weren't born to just survive. You were born to create, expand, and feel the pulse of aliveness. But survival is seductive. It gives you just enough comfort to stay where you are, without risking who you could become. This is the illusion of the safe zone, familiar, cozy, and quietly suffocating. You might say, one day I'll change, but someday is a mask that hides fear. This is what some call the success mirage, where you appear fine on the outside, but internally, you're starving for meaning. The shift begins not with massive leaps, but with micro-transitions. One conscious breath before reacting. One new word in your internal dialogue. One gentle challenge to an old belief. And above all, it begins with story. What story have you been telling yourself? I'm too late. I always sabotage. People like me don't get to shine. Now ask yourself, is this your voice? Or did someone hand you this script long ago? You can rewrite your narrative. Start with one new sentence. Something simple, like, I am learning to live from my truth. And let that become your new rhythm. You don't need to leap. You just need a new direction. Let's land in the body. Change doesn't begin in the mind. It begins in the body. Your body is a sacred antenna. It holds memory, emotion, and movement. And sometimes, what your mind can't process, your body still carries. That's why when you move your body even slightly, you begin to shift your entire reality. Joe Dispenza teaches that when we pair intention with elevated emotion, the nervous system rewires. But there's more. When you echo your intention in your body, the shift becomes real. Try this right now. Place your feet flat on the ground. Feel your weight supported. Now inhale slowly, and with the exhale, drop your shoulders. Let your body say, I'm safe to move forward. Add a micro gesture, a soft sway, a touch to your heart, a quiet walk with awareness. These aren't small actions, they are energetic affirmations. Real transformation is embodied, not just imagined. So today, when you feel frozen, don't overthink. Move, breathe, ground, and let your body teach your spirit how to flow again. You want more, and that desire is sacred, but more doesn't always come through force. It comes through alignment, through releasing the invisible, through listening to the whispers behind your resistance. Now is the time to return to your center. To begin again, softly, consciously, with presence. Say this out loud. I give myself permission to grow at my soul's pace. I trust my unfolding. And today's sacred practice, one mindful movement, one tiny act of courage. One breath that says, I'm still here and I'm ready. If this spoke to your spirit, share it with someone who's also searching, because sometimes a single voice can light the path for another. We'll walk it together.